What is the most powerful, the most attractive quality that you could have as a man? When I was starting out, I thought it was just good looks. That was like, the first initiation that I saw that separated like boys in high school. The better looking guy got the better girl. And I began to realize there were other qualities that made someone attractive. As time started going by, the other elements that make a guy more well-rounded started mattering more. In LA, I felt that even more strongly. Out of college, I was a good-looking guy. I was 6 feet tall. I had a lot of these, I would argue in terms of like the looks portion of, the manosphere's regard of what makes a man attractive, looks, money, game, status. I feel like I had the looks the strongest I ever did in that phase of my life. In the city where people are chasing their dreams, they're sharks, they're trying to like one-up each other. In that place, looks didn't hold as much weight. I didn't have any status, and because of that, I was not attractive to the world. It was around that time in my third year of LA where I first discovered NoFap. Like many of you, I saw a bunch of like NoFap videos show up in my feed, and I was at a place in my life where I was completely broke. Man, I was trying to find something to get myself to the next level. It's like my life lacked so much momentum. And there's this funny trope about actors, anyone who's pursuing a dream in Hollywood. Really all we need is a sense of community. In fact, a lot of people who are chasing after superficial things like money and status, if they just were given a great sense of community, great loving relationships, they probably wouldn't be chasing after so much status. And yet that was where I was at in life at the time. It was like not even women, it was the world at large was not interested in me. I was invisible to the world. And so I found semen retention. It was kind of a cult thing back in 2017. And since it's kind of grown into the mainstream cultural zeitgeist, but I gotta say, as soon as I started practicing semen retention in 2017, it's as if I became attractive, finally. Like that was the biggest thing that made me attractive to women. It's like women could sense that there was something in me, and everyone else could too. Even my Hollywood agent, he's like, there's something special about you. I think that quality that makes a man most attractive is his desire. Despite what like the Buddhists may say about desire being this terrible thing, desire being the source of all suffering, that might be true in like some grand philosophical way, but in terms of people who like live in the world, desire is very attractive. Like the guy who just wants it more. You hear so many people talking about it, like where does hustle come from? The capacity for a man to do work, to construct skyscrapers, to get after it in life, comes from his sexual energy, comes from like the deepest source of our desire. And the problem with so many men in the modern world is that unknowingly, so many of us, since we were like 12 years old, had been killing that desire, through pornography, through masturbation. And so while NoFap might come across as like a meme, it's something that I've actually come back to now. In my late 20s, I realize now it's one of the most powerful things I've ever done for myself. And the greatest NoFap benefit, that quality that people can literally sense emanating off of you, is desire, is biological desire. The other week I was pacing around the gym in between sets, and one of the other boxing coaches, Coach Thomas, he texted me and he said, I see a hunger in your eyes that I just don't see regularly. Like you walk around this gym like you're ravenous, like you're so hungry, and I think you're gonna go far. This is something I feel more strongly than ever because my story with this practice feels like a renewal. It feels like a rebirth. In many ways, in year 4 of Captain Sinbad, I feel like I'm going back to my very first year, or my first big year in 2019, where I was just doing all these disciplines back in the day because I was just that much hungrier. And for some reason, that hunger has come back in my life this year. And you could probably sense it from the tone of this channel. Like, I don't know, there's something less polite about this channel this year, and it's something I really like. And I'll be honest with you, a big part of this came back into my life because I started practicing retention again. In this video, I want to break down 4 things that happen when the desire, that extra for life that you get when you're on retention, what it does for you. The first thing is more eye contact. Man, a lot of these ideas, I hate the fact that they can't be backed up more scientifically, but they are just very, at least anecdotally, you can't help but notice like different things start unfolding in your life. And the very first thing that happens to me when I get a streak back up to around 7 or 10 days is that I just get stares. And I feel this more than ever because I'm training for my first marathon and we're getting to the final leg of it. We're 5 weeks out from the marathon. So sometimes I'm out there running for like 3 hours straight. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see me just fucking getting after it. Like, you enter this state of like sheer delirium where you're just kind of telling yourself to go on and go on. And so I'm sure I look crazy in the eyes. But one of the strangest things is that, of course, as I'm out on these long runs in parks or on the Stone Arch Bridge, there's always so many people there because I'm running in these attractive places. And the fucking eye contact, bro. Like, the amount of people who look at me is not just women, although women do look at me now. And there was even a time when I was out on a run where two girls, they looked like they were like 19. I was running and they just were like, hey, like they looking at me like, hey, like stop, you have to fucking talk to us. And I was so delirious, I didn't even really fully register until I was already like half a mile away from them, that they were basically trying to stop me to chat, which is something that has never happened to me in my life. But even a lot of times there are children who make eye contact with me. There was one specific time where like a bunch of kids just like looked at me, and then there was like 8 of them on a bicycle. They all wanted to high five me. It's like everyone was smiling at me. There was a picnic, it seemed like a cultural gathering, and these like 50-year-old women were just like seeking me out, making eye contact and smiling at me. Everyone makes eye contact, and then the dudes either give you a head nod and the ladies give you a smile. It sounds funky. It sounds like I'm making all of this up. I wish there was more research done on this as to why this happens, because probably there is some science that could be uncovered. There probably is a study that could successfully show like a man on 7 days of semen retention will get more eye contact, but it just fucking is true, bro. I also feel myself less inclined to look away from people when I do make eye contact. In general, there's also like more of an intensity in your eyes. Like 7 days in, the eyes actually look different. I have tested this many times between having a streak running and then due to lifestyle decisions, the streak falling off. And the eyes do look different when you're on retention as opposed to when you're not. There's more luster in the eyes. I even feel there's more intensity in the eyes in general. Like there's more of a magnetic quality to you overall that the world rewards you for. Well, this has just been the longest run of the marathon prep. 20 miles. It took me a little bit over 4 hours, but we got it done. It's a mental breakthrough. It's an identity shift to know that I can run for that long. And there's so much I see in marathon training that has been relevant to my career as a YouTuber. I mean, making it as a YouTuber, for me, it has been a game of attrition. I spent time learning how the game worked, and then I decided a long time ago, like back in 2019, that I would simply execute on how the game looks for years to come. And at the time on Social Blade, it said that in 5 years' time, I would have 60,000 subscribers. And even that, to me, as someone who only had 5,000 subscribers, when I saw that Social Blade list, I can't tell you how excited it made me feel. Like in 5 years, I'll have 60,000 subscribers, and that is if I don't get any better. And I knew I was committed to getting better. I say all this because the sponsor of today's video is my own group coaching academy. Now the academy has actually started. I'm very selective with who I take on, so even though we've had hundreds of applicants at this point, we can't accept everyone. The people I want to work with are dedicated, like they're genuinely psychologically committed to getting 100,000 subscribers in 1 year. And you don't need technical talent up front, you just need to have that desire, that intensity, and that willingness to get better with every video. If you're on the other side of this and you're trying to figure out the game of YouTube, I could probably teach you what I know that took me 4 years to learn. I could probably get you there much faster. Depending on how hard of a worker you are, I could get you the results of becoming a YouTuber, getting 100,000 subscribers in 1 year, and then working on the back end of that to build a business out of your YouTube channel, getting it up to a 5-figure per month salary, $10,000 per month. I know it sounds kind of crazy to hear, but the truth is most people just don't put in the work. Like they don't put in the intentional effort with titles, thumbnails, market strategy, becoming more authentic on camera, delivering a message that is well scripted and concise and full of value. So many people are just shooting in the dark. One of my coaching clients said, you know, for him, trying to make it as a YouTuber before he joined the academy, it was like playing Battleship. And hopefully, as he's getting going, he'll be able to like identify how to sink ships faster rather than just shooting things out blindly. You have to know how the game works if you're going to succeed at it. So if this is something that you're interested in, you want to learn how to grow on YouTube, there's an application form in the description box. If you click that link, you'll be able to tell me about yourself, tell me about your goals, how your journey has been going, and then we'll see if you're a good fit for the academy, to see if you're ready to put in the work to get 100,000 subscribers in 1 year. That's the plug for this video. On with the rest of it. The second idea I want to share here is the idea that your extra desire that you get when you haven't busted a nut for a while, is that desire gives you creativity and courage. There's a great paragraph from The Way of the Superior Man that I'm just going to read directly from right now. David Dita says, "The purpose of sexual desire is creation. Reproduction is but the biological aspect of creation. As a man, you probably have much more to give to the world than just children. Just as beautiful women inspire biological procreation, they also inspire artistic, social, and spiritual creativity. When it comes down to it, most men will admit that one way or another, women are their muse and inspiration. Women move them to create and serve humanity. In fact, some men would go as far as to say that if it weren't for women, they wouldn't be interested in the world much at all." I think this is true for me. I don't know if that sounds superficial, but much of what has inspired me to take action, I think, is the desire to acquire love, and especially acquire the love of a beautiful woman. In fact, with some of my coaching clients who are now like their lifestyle coaching clients, it's more personal development at large rather than just on how to grow a YouTube channel. One of the first advice I give them, if they're not at a gym where there's like hot girls around, go to a gym with attractive women. Not primarily to like stare at them and be a creep, but literally because you are stronger around beautiful women. This is something I would notice from like grade school onwards. In choir class, the all boys choir was like a rambunctious crew, and suddenly when we got with the mixed choir, when the girls came in like to do like sing a song together, the behavior of the boys changed so dramatically. Like we all started peacocking so much more and like trying to sing better. Literally these high school boys would try to sing better when the girls choir would join us for like a collab. And so to harness that energy and to use it to productive ends, it actually is powerful to be in the vicinity of beautiful women and to leverage that to your advantage. David Dita actually says in his book that you should actually slingshot the appearance of beauty into something greater, because what we're chasing from women is ultimately a form of fulfillment, but that fulfillment is an illusion. And anyone who's like gotten with the girl of their dreams sort of on some level understands this. Like it's never this magical fulfilling thing when you get with the girl that you've been wanting for a long time or something, but it still is amazing, but it's not like your purpose, right? It's not the main thing, but it can very often be a slingshot to your purpose. It's that creativity and courage that emanates when you're around attractive women. And this part of the research is actually backed up. Like there have actually been studies that show that when men are around attractive women, or when a man is talking to an attractive woman, his testosterone levels do go up. That actually does make sense. If you learn to discipline your habit and like this innate capacity within you to admire feminine energy, instead of just releasing it, but rather harnessing that mental and sexual tension, you can continually cultivate and magnify your inspiration. You can wean yourself from the addictive cycles of just like being intoxicated from sex and then releasing that energy, and rather just kind of like, this is almost like Taoist, to like breathe it into you, harness that desire, and put it into a productive output. The ideas that you get from it, the creativity that you get from that is very strong. It's very powerful. You can make use of the native forces of sexual desire for your woman and for other women, and convert your tendency towards fantasy and lust into the force of inspiration. The third idea I want to share here is the idea that desire is actually a symbol of the law of attraction working. So if you are full of more raw primal desire, if you find yourself, I guess, thinking sexual thoughts, but also thinking about your goals in relation to your kind of lust, I would argue that that is a symbol that the law of attraction is actually magnified in your life. What is the opposite of being full of desire? I would say it's like being depressed. The only time I feel depressed in my life is when I don't see any immediate goal that I can work towards that's actually there for the taking. Like all the goals that I would want to achieve feel so far out there that it feels even hopeless to pursue them. Or whatever is there for the taking, I'm just not interested in. So disinterest in your goals, disinterest in your desires, that for me is what depression looks like. The polar opposite of it is having a ton of desire. And the cool thing about being like literally ravenous with desire is that it actually supercharges you past any fear or like mental blockages. Like for me, I'll just be honest with you, one of the barriers that I've been trying to break in my business is to break that $100,000 per month revenue income, like monthly income, to have 100K month. Now, there were many mental barriers along the way to every income level that I got to. So when I first got to like $6,000 a month, that was a huge kind of mind fuck where I was like, oh my God, I'm finally making this much amount of money. Then 5 figures felt crazy. And then 5 figures off of YouTube, like 5 figures from my like passion as opposed to my day job as a software consultant. That felt even crazier. And then of course there were other milestones along the way that felt, wow, this is a really big goal. I don't know how we're going to get there. Eventually the goal would be hit. But the number one thing that has helped me break any plateau that I've been in, whether it's financial or fitness related, is having more of that desire, having more of that want. It goes back to this quote by Will Smith where he says, in a basketball game, the guy who just hustles a little more, the guy who like every time the ball goes loose, he goes out there and he grabs that ball and he like pivots around, he like throws it back in play. The guy who's just hungrier, he is usually the one who wins, right? And in effect, desire is the law of attraction at work. The law of attraction responds, of course, to like detachment and the fact that you meditated and you visualized, but a lot of that stuff just takes care of itself when you actually just want it more. And if you haven't been busting for a while, I mean, do you know what that feels like to like want to bust and you haven't? You just want everything more. Yeah, I'm just laughing because it's funny that I'm going back to this topic after years of being off of it. We're back here, man. Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich had a great whole paragraph about this, great whole chapter about this, where he talked about how the human mind responds to stimuli, and it can be keyed up to high rates of vibration through any of the great stimuli. The number one stimuli that will key up your brain is sexual expression. This is why so much of marketing relies on sexuality, you know, because the desire for sex expression comes at the head of the list of stimuli, which most effectively step up the vibrations of the mind and start the wheels of physical action. The human mind responds to stimulation. Even the law of attraction responds to stimulation. And the greatest, most powerful of the stimuli is the urge of sex. When harnessed and retransmuted, this driving force is capable of lifting men to the status of a genius. This brings me to the final point I want to make here, which is that you get luckier. The desire and the momentum that you get off of semen retention, you will find yourself accidentally, like legitimately off of instinct, making better decisions. This is all part of like being a more high vibration person. And when you tie this into like, you do other great things with your day and your life, like you regularly sweat out the poisons, you work up a sweat every day. Ideally, you meditate every day. I've also gone back to doing affirmations and more like deliberate visualizations where I just like think about wanting to achieve my goals. And I realized getting off of NoFap was one of like the biggest things that stunted my growth. Because over the years of like 2020 and 2021, as I moved more towards productivity and cinematography YouTube and away from, I would say like the more unsavory men's personal development topics, I found myself, you know, it's like if something is not directly in your mind, you forget the importance of it. That's something that happened to me. And just as a visual reference, I would encourage you to go back and watch videos from my channel in like 2020 or 2021, and then just compare them to the tone of the channel today. You probably would notice there's been a return of an amount of vigor that wasn't there before. I guess that's the best word I can use to describe it. Vigor, aggression, intent, clarity. And I have received DMs and comments from people saying like, oh, something about your channel this season especially, this year especially, it's like you came back to something. The videos have been extra on point this year. It's because I've gotten back on semen retention. Now, my longest streak in this new season of my life has only been up to 25 days. Reason for this is just because there's women in my life now. And so like that hard mode streak, I haven't done as good of a job maintaining. But I gotta say, I do everything I can to keep the streaks as long as possible. And my intent now is actually to get back to like 100 days of hard mode, like retention and beyond, because man, desire is the number one NoFap benefit. Is something people can literally smell off of you. Like, I don't know if pheromones are a thing, but women can genuinely just like feel it off of you. Now, I don't think being on retention will create desire from women who aren't already interested in you. So if a girl isn't going to be into you, she's just not going to be into you even if you were on retention. But if there's even like the seed of desire just slightly there, like she actually has a little bit of interest in you, it will be magnified when you're on retention. And that doesn't just go for women, it goes for everything, like your career, your finances, your physical fitness, the creative expression in your life. I'm maintaining this now. This is the number one thing. This is the number one discipline. And you start here, you add in everything else, like working out and working hard, like genuinely working with deep work on your goals, and life becomes exciting again. progress becomes more readily there for the taking. And like, you're gonna see it on this channel because a level of intent, a level of fucking getting after it has come back in my life. And it's because I'm practicing semen retention and more. Anyway, I hope you got some value out of this one. If you're new to the channel, my name is Nick Hill. This channel is a combination of personal development topics, primarily geared towards men, although all are welcome, alongside lifestyle challenges, comedy sketches, the Watch As One series is now back on like a monthly basis, and more, with a little bit of a focus on filmmaking and cinematography in there as well. If any of that appeals to you, then subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon because every video is going to be an effort. Every video is going to be made with intent. If you're like me and you're a staunch believer in NoFap, check out my app. I had launched an app back in May that has now had many updates called Transmuted. You can find it on the App Store alongside Google Play. And Transmuted is like my passion project. It's a habit tracker that also has a new element called Journeys. Basically, you can keep track of your NoFap streak, which there's a sword in the ground that comes out. That's your NoFap streak. And then also you can build out other habits over a certain period of days that you want to do. There's a journaling section in there. It's a fantastic app. And lastly, I do also want to plug my newsletter. There's a weekly newsletter that I'll be putting out on productivity, creativity, entrepreneurship, how to make more money, how to be more attractive to women in the world at large, how to make your mark on the world. If any of that appeals to you, check it out. But with that being said, for those of us who stay on the path of retention, stay on the path of sexual discipline, to us I say, greatness is coming. See you next time.